They reached the canal along the track leading up from the river, their slingshots drawn for battle and their eyes squinting, almost stitched together in the midday glare. There were 5 of them. Their ringleader, the only one in swimming trunks, red shorts that blazed behind the parched crops of the cane fields, still low in early May. The rest of the troop trailed behind him in their underpants, all 4 caked in mud up to their shins, all 4 taking turns to carry the pail of small rocks they'd taken from the river that morning. All 4 scowling and fierce, and so ready to give themselves up for the cause that not even the youngest, bringing up the rear, would have dared admit he was scared.
Hurricane Season is a novel about the murder of a witch in a very small village in the southeast of Mexico. It's sort of a crime novel, but at the same time it's a book that explores the deep connections between, passionate, what we call murder of passion, but also homophobia, machismo, misogynia. It's a story that tells the particularities of a region that I really care about, that is the south of Mexico, around the port of Veracruz, the Gulf of Mexico. And it's also exploration of what's the darkest corners of the human soul.
Hurricane Season is written in a torrential flow of language, described, I think, well by a phrase from the novel itself. It's a novel of hellacious force. As the title suggests, it is a novel that, in sense, borrows from extreme weather systems. The deluge of language that runs through the book is mirrored by the atmospheric disturbances that occur in this part of Mexico. It's a book that would have posed an enormous challenge to a translator, and Sophie Hughes is equal to that challenge. In fact, I would say that it's a work of remarkable boldness and artistic bravery.
I think the most challenging thing about translating Fernanda's book is the vernacular, the use of the vernacular. So it's very regional, her Spanish. It's not just Mexican Spanish, but from Jarocho, so from Veracruz. And although I've lived in Mexico, I haven't lived in Veracruz, and it's not my Spanish. So although this happens when you're translating in Spanish quite often, because there's so many regional Spanishes, and I'm not always translating Mexican Spanish. It happens a lot, but in this book, I think that it's a book that people finish and say, it feels so alive. The characters feel so vivid, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way they speak. And so to create a kind of natural dialect was very difficult without transposing it to another setting, so kind of making them all Cockney young lads, or without imposing another setting. Sort of opted for giving each character a kind of voice in my head and just going with it, so they're sort of more like idiolects, like personal languages per character rather than dialects, so that you couldn't say, oh well, that's a kind of very Southeast London way of speaking or slang. It would be more like a kind of mashup or amalgamation of different characters in order to create a kind of believable character, rather than trying to make them all speak some language that doesn't actually exist, because Mexican Veracruz English doesn't exist.
Sophie Hughes has managed to capture the sturm and drag of the vernacular, the rambunctious energy, the controlled rage of the voice. This is a novel that deals with difficult subjects, with violence, misogyny, and with an endemic hatred of women who know too much, who are the custodians of the community's secrets, of its dirty habits. These women are expendable, and this is a translation in a novel which takes the rage and sense of injustice about those things and channels it into language of irresistible and overwhelming force.
At first, I was tempted to do a non-fiction book because this crime, this murder of a witch in a small village, I first heard of it through a newspaper story. My initial intention was to go to the small village and do research and write a non-fiction book. It was really dangerous to travel at that time to the rural areas of Veracruz because of the organized crime, violence. It was a really ugly time for being a woman, a journalist, and go there asking, awkward questions. So at the end, I decided that maybe through fiction, I could also explore these things that I was interested in, the dark corners, what's behind a murder, what's behind superstition, what's behind what we call witchcraft in 21st century. And the most sincere and honest way to do it was through fiction.
I've got quite a potty mouth. I do swear quite a lot. I probably got better now that I'm a parent, but I naturally swear quite a lot. I think it's a great way to express yourself, to be honest. I'm not very prim. I grew up in a family of 6 children, the youngest of 6, so I heard a lot, and I saw lots of movies that I probably shouldn't have, lots of films that I shouldn't have quite young, so it was just always there. I like great swearers. Like, I'm a real fan of like Don Logan in Sexy Beast and stuff. I watched that when I rewatched certain things, and also watched a lot of American gangster movies because they have this really beautiful, inventive way of using language to express, even if what they're expressing is derogatory and offensive, it's a brilliant use of language. And so as a translator, that's just really fun.
This is a novel that speaks to the abject and extraordinary conditions that some people, some women are forced to live in, and transmutes that through the tightly controlled narrative into a work of enduring fascination. It is a book that speaks directly to very live and very febrile issues in the world today, but it also manages to, in all of its darkness, present us with a work of art that is so effervescent, it is so incandescent, as to be elating, as to be something that you simply cannot put down. It is a book of irresistible force, and I think another reason why it could win the International Booker Prize is because of the conspiratorial relationship between author and translator around this book.
Llegaron por el canal por la brecha que sube del río, con las ondas prestas para la batalla y los ojos entornados, cosidos casi en el fulgor del mediodía. Eran 5 y su líder el único que llevaba traje de baño, una truza colorada que ardía entre las matas sedientas del cañaveral enano de principios de mayo. El resto de la tropa lo seguía en calzoncillos, los 4 calzados en botines de fango, los 4 cargando por turnos el balde de piedras menudas que aquella misma mañana sacaron del río, los 4 ceñudos y fieros y tan dispuestos a inmolarse que ni siquiera el más pequeño de ellos se hubiera atrevido a confesar que sentía miedo. Al avanzar con sigilo a la saga de sus compañeros, la liga de la resortera, tensa entre sus manos, el guijarro apretado en la badana de cuero, listo para descalabrar lo primero que le saliera al paso, si la señal de la emboscada se hacía presente.